Well, Israel is clamping down on its green pass requirements, with the Prime Minister and health officials deciding that as of this Friday, people must present a green pass to be able to enter malls. Now, the decision coming as concern mounts over the new Omicron variant of the virus, with more than 80 cases now identified here in the Holy Land, as the so-called coronavirus cabinet mulls tighter restrictions and tighter travel bans just in time for Christmas. And our correspondent Ellie Hockenberg joins me here in studio. Hello, Ellie. What a pleasure to have you in.
Pleasure to be here.
Good. Tell me, it seems like every day something new is coming out, new restrictions, new travel restrictions. What can we expect or in the lead up to Christmas, or should it be a case of expect the unexpected?
Well, it doesn't even seem like that. It is really the case, and it feels as if the government not saying that in a critical manner whatsoever, somewhat shooting in the dark, because simply they do not know what to do, similarly to all other administrations across the world. But we are seeing a major uproar once again, especially on behalf of mall owners, because of the most recent wave of restrictions, seeking to designate very clearly, using bracelets, all those entering shopping malls, meaning that those who have a green pass will be marked, and those who are vaccinated will be able to travel freely. Those who are marked will only have access to pharmaceutical stores and other
supermarkets, etc.
Right, all the essentials.
Yep.
They wouldn't be able just to wander around the mall, So mall owners, not saying that they're, your usual civil leaders or something of a revolution. They're saying, let it be from economic interest or again from public concern. They're saying, you really want to start tagging people with bracelets? Do you think it's a good idea? So it is currently being debated. Yeah, and also how will you actually enforce it? Is the poor guy at the entrance that needs to check your purse, will have to now see if you have a...
Yeah, and let's be honest, it's pretty easy if you want to be able to stretch one of these little bands and put it on someone else.
Israelis are clever.
Exactly. And Ellie, look, I want to say to you, I'm going away on vacation today, and this comes as the Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett, he's calling on Israelis to stay home, but how can he expect people to heed that advice when his own wife has just gone away abroad?
The Maldives saga, we can call it that way, Sarah. Indeed, it happened once the fear from the Omicron variant was really at the very beginning, but already dominated news cycles. And Bennett urged Israelis twice during the same weekend not to go unless it's urgent, unless you cannot cancel it by any means. But then a few days later, his wife is going on a trip to the Maldives with his children.
Saying she needs it. They need it. We all need it.
Right. And then the day after, very naturally, we saw Israelis at the airport. All the news reporters, us included, headed
scrambling to get out.
So interviewing people and said, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And again, a very natural reaction. But as for travel bans, we were just talking about malls. Travel bans are the Ministry of Health agreed that every 24 hours the list of red countries will be updated, meaning that it becomes extremely difficult to impossible, really, to plan anything in advance. Because even if now a certain country is yellow or orange or green or purple or whatever,
could go red at any minute.
Exactly. So the end goal here is, of course, to limit or contain the spread of the variant of the pandemic altogether. But the question that must be asked is whether Israelis really believe that this is the way to follow through. And
for sure. And it really is getting a lot. At the beginning we were told you need to get 1 or 2 vaccines. We're all on to our 3rd now, and now they are mulling a 4th.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Right. So it's a very initial phase of the deliberations, but we do hear numerous health officials saying, well, guys, you know what? Not just here in Israel, but all over the world. Similarly to the flu shot, we might need to get used to the notion that we will get a vaccine every few months. But again, it has to come with a more sincere public trust in this entire notion, because without that, then you'll get to this endless loop of restrictions and vaccines.
Exactly. Like, where does it actually stop? Flu vaccines, yearly flu vaccines. I know a lot of people do get them, people, especially frontline workers, etc. But, that is not something we are all required to do. So do you see this as potentially becoming mandated, meaning that we will have to just continue getting jabs.
Well, I'm no health expert by any means, but witnessing the civil outrage throughout the world, most notably, of course, in Europe, as we are seeing mandatory vaccine legislation being promoted in several countries. And again, the backlash on behalf of the citizens to require it by law seems to be an extremely challenging mission for any administration, not just here in Israel. And if we're going back to what's happening here, vaccination rates are quite high here in Israel.
Although the take-up for the third has been
declining. But again, we're going back, both you and I, Sarah, covered very closely the first outbreak of the pandemic, when even less than we know now was known. And we always stress the importance of public's trust in its leaders, in the decision-making process and the decision-makers. And I think that as long as this is declining, dismissing vaccination rates and all the other elements, if the public trust in the decision-making process and the decision-makers themselves continue to decline, it will be even more challenging to contain the spread of the pandemic. And it's important to note, we are seeing more and more data on the Omicron variant, on on how quickly it is being transmitted, on the fatality of it. So we're likely to know more by the day, but the new variant can always come in. So this is why, again, I'm stressing not to trigger any alarm by any means, but if we're talking about trying to find an outline that will enable people to continue on with their lives while protecting themselves and their surroundings from the spread of the pandemic, trust is essential.
100%, always essential. Ellie Hockenberg.
I trust you.
I trust you, and I trust you to look after the show while I'm gone.
It will be my honor.
Have a good time. Thanks, Ellie.